श्री गणेशाय नमः। श्री दुर्गायै नमः। नगरात प्रवेशले पंडुनंदन, तो देखिले दुर्गा स्थान।
Hello students of class 11. Let's continue with Act 2 of The Tempest. We were in our last video tutorial trying to understand what was happening in this particular scene of Act 2, and let's now try to continue from where we had left off in our previous video tutorial. So we will be starting from page 53. If you please take out your textbooks, Act 2 Scene 1, page 53. On your screen you can see the page number taken from your textbook. So please take out the page concerned and let's continue with our video tutorial of The Tempest, Act 2 Scene 1. Now Sebastian says, "No, he doth but mistake the truth totally." So we were discussing the foul manner in which Antonio and Sebastian are trying to make fun of Gonzalo and the other lord, who are trying to cheer up Alonso, the king of Naples, who is upset because his son, he believes, is dead due to the shipwreck. Now let us see what Sebastian says. "No, he doth but mistake the truth totally." So it seems that he is actually not speaking the truth. He is making a mistake, that he is avoiding the real truth. He is referring to the grass being green, whereas there is only a small patch of green, the rest is all tawny. This is what he has said. Then Gonzalo, irrespective of what they are saying, Gonzalo continues and says, "But the rarity of it is, which is indeed almost beyond credit." But the rarity, but the most striking quality of it refers to the quality of the island. Okay, so Gonzalo is commenting about the island and all the good prospects of the island. He's trying to show that the island has many good prospects. So the rarity of it, so something which is rare or something which is unique to this island, is that which is indeed almost beyond credit, meaning to say something which is not credible, in fact unbelievable. The most unique quality of this island, which is unbelievable. This is what he means to say. Okay, so you have understood. The most unique quality of this island is something which is unbelievable. That's what is meant by, "But the rarity of it is, which is indeed almost beyond credit." But he cannot finish, because Sebastian again comments, "As many vouched rarities are, just as many guaranteed genuine things are." You mean to say like that? He is being sarcastic. He is being sarcastic in his comment. He is trying to say that just as many things are claimed to be very genuine or something very unique, but ultimately they turn out to be not really so. You mean to say, in that sense, that this island has some uniqueness in it? Gonzalo does not give any reply to that question, and he goes on to continue. Well, he was talking about the island, but now the rarity of this island instead becomes the rarity of the situation. He says that our garments, being as they were drenched in the sea, hold notwithstanding their freshness and glosses, being rather new dyed than stained with salt water. So whatever has happened so far, according to Gonzalo, things have happened in a very strange and very unbelievable manner. The dresses that we are wearing, he is saying this, that the dresses or the garments which we are wearing, when we fell into the sea, our dresses were all drenched with salty sea water. But now look at them. Our dresses are as fresh and as glossy or shiny as they were, as if they have been dyed just freshly. Dyed means colored. So the colors of our dresses are looking so fresh, and our dresses are looking so glossy, as if we have never fallen into salt water. There is not a single stain to be found on our dress. Antonio says, if but one of his pockets could speak, would it not say he lies? What does he mean to say? So, if any one of his pockets in his dress could actually speak like a human being, then would it not say that what he is saying is a lie? Why? Because if you fall into the sea water gets inside your pockets also, as you get drenched completely. And then when you come out of the sea, the water drains away and dries off. But what is left behind inside the pockets in particular? The pockets work like strainers. They hold the salt which is left behind by the water, by the sea water. So that is what Antonio is trying to refer to, that if any of his pockets could speak, it would say that he is telling a lie, because there are salt deposits inside the pockets of our dresses. Sebastian says, A or very falsely pocket up his report. Yes, I think he is very falsely, like a man who tries to speak in a false manner. He is trying to hide the truth. Pocket up means to hide, meaning is given alongside. Gonzalo says, methinks our garments are now as fresh as when we put them on first in Africa. I think that our dresses are as fresh as when we put them on, when we started our journey from Africa. At the marriage of the king's fair daughter Claribel to the king of Tunis. So now it becomes clear. This ship and the other ships in the fleet, in the royal fleet, was returning from, all these ships had actually gone from Naples to Tunisia. Tunisia is a country in Africa. And in Tunisia, the king of Tunis was married to the daughter of Alonso. So Alonso had taken his friends and courtiers and lords and nobles and servants and attendants and so many other people, and had gone all the way to marry off his daughter with the king of Tunis. And now they were returning from there. After the marriage got over, the king's daughter, Claribel, that's her name. Claribel is the sister of Ferdinand. She is another female character whose name is mentioned in the play, but we don't meet her anywhere in the play. So we must know that King Alonso had a son and a daughter. The son is Ferdinand, who is now lost, and so the king is upset. And his daughter is Claribel. She has already got married to this king of Tunis, and Tunis is in Africa. So if you look at the map of Europe and Africa, you will see that Europe and Africa are separated by the Mediterranean Sea in between. So when you go to Africa, you have to come down from Italy, all the way peninsular Italy, from there across the Mediterranean Sea and then to the continent of Africa by ship. Marriage got over. Claribel was left there with her husband, the king of Tunis. Now father and son and all the others who had gone with them were returning back to Naples. Naples is in present day Italy. So when they were returning, at that very moment, this tempest was raised by Prospero because the ship was passing along an area in the Mediterranean Sea which was near this deserted island or this uninhabited island where Prospero used to live with his daughter. And so when Prospero saw the royal ship, he knew that it was the ship of Naples, the king of Naples. He ordered Ariel to take immediate steps. He directed Ariel, and Ariel created the tempest. And not only did he create the tempest, he separated the rest of the ships from the royal vessel. So much so that the other ships, they thought they saw that the royal vessel has been destroyed by the storm. And so all the royal vessels which were scattered here and there because of the storm finally got together. They searched for the royal vessel, they could not find. So they decided that yes, the king and all those who were on board that ship have all been killed. Their bodies will never be found. So with a sad, heavy heart, all these other people in the other ships collectively began their journey back home. So they were on their way back to Naples. They did not know, of course, because it was done in such a clever way by Ariel, that the king and all his companions were very much alive, and that the storm was a fake storm raised magically, and that they had all been brought to the island near which this storm had taken place. So this is the whole truth. So that is the reference being made here, that when we wore these dresses, when we were in Africa, Afric means Africa, at the marriage of the king's fair daughter, fair means beautiful, and her name is mentioned as Claribel, to the king of Tunis. His name is not mentioned, but we know that Claribel was now the queen of Tunis. Sebastian says, "'Twas was a sweet marriage, and we prosper well in our return." Yes, the marriage was sweet indeed, but then we have benefited a lot from this marriage while returning from Africa. He is being sarcastic again. He means just the opposite of what he says here, that we have not benefited, we have actually fallen into this bad situation, difficult situation because of this voyage which we had made. Had we not attended this marriage, or had Claribel not been married to the king of Tunis, then this day would not have come in our lives. This is what he means. Adrian says, "Tunis was never graced before with such a paragon to their queen." Adrian and Francisco are loyal lords of the king of Naples. Adrian says that Tunis, the country of Tunis, was never before blessed by such a beautiful queen. She is a paragon of beauty. Claribel was very beautiful. She was a princess and she was really beautiful. So, married to an African prince, in comparison, she is a European, she is from Europe, European princess. So she is fair and very, very beautiful. So Tunis never got a queen like her before. She is a paragon of beauty. Gonzalo says, "Not since Widow Dido's time." Yeah, you are right. Not since the time of Widow Dido. Now here, there is a reference to Dido. That's why I am scrolling up again. Line number 70. Gonzalo, not since Widow Dido's time. Let's read what is given alongside in the explanation. It's a long explanation, but we need to understand this very clearly and need to remember, because in your exam you are that you are very likely to get something based on this. Very likely. So let's read. Dido. According to ancient classical mythology, Dido was the queen of Carthage. Carthage was a place somewhere in Europe. She fell in love with Aeneas. She fell in love with a hero, a voyager, an adventurer, a prince whose name was Aeneas. A warrior and explorer. So he is described as a warrior and an explorer. For a time all went well, but later Aeneas left the island which he was visiting in the course of his voyages. Dido felt so heartbroken that she committed suicide by burning herself to death. Thus, she is regarded as a symbol of constant but hopeless passion. Dido is regarded as a woman or a lady who had true love for the person she loved, but who was deceived in love. It so happened that this explorer Aeneas came to the island kingdom of Carthage, and he was handsome, good looking, smart and brave, courageous. And the queen of this particular island kingdom, Carthage, she was single, she was not married. She fell in love with this young man. She was herself also quite young, and she fell in love with this young man, and perhaps they got married, or maybe they did not, but then for a while they were together and love began to develop between the two of them. Now Dido was serious in this love. She had dedicated her heart and soul for this man, but this man was an explorer and he wouldn't stay in one place for long. So Aeneas made a promise to her that he would return, but now, as of now, he had to go, and he left the island, and after that he never came back. So Dido waited, and then finally understood or realized that she has been deceived. Now there could have been two reasons behind this. One, that because he was an explorer, he was not ready to get married, and he was not ready to settle down. He did not want any family ties or pull from behind. He wanted to be a free bird, and that's why he left and he went away forever. That is one possibility. The second possibility is that probably while he went exploring from one continent to another, one place to another, by making voyages along the seas and the oceans, and because he was a warrior and in many places he was not welcomed, there he had to fight. So he could have possibly been killed in some kind of war or battle, and so he did not return. So we don't know for certain what exactly was the reason, but Dido became a symbol of consistency in love, constant love, and hopeless passion, because her hopes were dashed to the ground. Though she was passionate towards Aeneas, he never returned. So now here Gonzalo says, not since widow Dido's time. Now Dido is referred to as a widow. Why widow? Because her husband was gone forever from her. Maybe he died. So in that sense, she could consider herself a widow. Either she was deserted by her husband, or he had died in some kind of war or battle. Whatever be the case, she is referred to as widow Dido. And then she committed suicide. It is mythology. Whether it really happened in history or not is a different question altogether. But there is no such historical bearing. All this is pure mythology. So now, Gonzalo says ever since Vido Dido's time, Carthage, or rather Tunis, did not have a queen like Claribel. But the two places are different. Tunis is Tunisia, which is in Africa, in the main continent of Africa, whereas Carthage is said to be an island. So how can the two places be same? And how can Dido be considered the past queen of Tunis? No, she wasn't. So this is where Antonio speaks up. Antonio says, Vido, a plague on that. Vido, what are you saying? So here there is another reference. The idea here is that Claribel, King Alonso's daughter, is a woman of great beauty, just as Dido was. Dido is here called a widow because she was forsaken by her lover Aeneas. The story of Dido's love was narrated by the Latin poet Virgil in his famous epic poem, the Aeneid. So you need to read the Aeneid. It's an epical poem. It's a heavy volume. It's a thick book. So among one of the European epics, you could say. So never since Vido Dido's time. What are you trying to say? A plague on that word which you use. Widow. What do you mean widow? How come that widow? How came that widow in Vido Dido? Why are you saying that she was a widow? How did that word widow come in? In what sense did she, or are you calling her a widow? So we finish with that page. Move on to page 54. Sebastian says, what if he had said widower? Aeneas was. Aeneas too. Good Lord, how you take it. Now you are saying Dido was a widow. You could have also possibly said, you never know, this man has gone crazy. He's referring to or talking about Gonzalo. He says that he's calling Dido a widow. He can also call Aeneas a widower. Who is a widower? A man whose wife has died is called a widower. And a woman whose husband has died is called a widow. So now he is saying widow Dido. Next he will say widower Aeneas. So they are making fun of whatever Gonzalo is saying. They are criticizing whatever Gonzalo is saying. Adrian says, Vido Dido, said you make me study of that. She was of Carthage, not of Tunis. Now Adrian opposes. He says, you have said Vido Dido from Tunis, the king of Tunis and the queen of Tunis was Dido. But then how is that possible? If I refer to my knowledge, if I make a detailed study, then I can say that she was from Carthage. She was not from Tunis. Gonzalo says, this Tunis, sir, was Carthage. So Gonzalo is an old man. He knows more. So he says to Adrian, this Tunis, present day Tunis, in the olden times it was called Carthage. So I am right. Adrian says, Carthage? So Gonzalo says, I assure you, Carthage. Yes, I can give you the assurance that in the olden times it was called Carthage, now it is called Tunis. Antonio says, his word is more than the miraculous harp. What he says is more than what the miraculous harp can do. Now there is a reference to miraculous harp. Once again, the corner, you can just see the side of the page. It says, Ampions, harp. That is the reference being given here, again mythological reference. The music of which raised the walls of Thebes. Here Gonzalo actually makes an error. this is Gonzalo's error. You can see I'm zooming in. So Ampion's harp, the music of which raised the walls of Thebes. Here Gonzalo's error in line 77 has created a whole new city. So ever since the miraculous harp, he's talking about the miraculous harp. So then we have Sebastian commenting, he hath raised the wall and houses too. Well, Ampion and his miraculous harp, by means of playing that harp. What is a harp, by the way? Better to know the musical instrument. It's a triangular framed wired musical instrument, which is a very, very ancient musical instrument. So it is believed that Ampion could, by means of his harp music, raise walls and build cities. So the magic of the music was such that automatically the walls came up and the houses and buildings and city limits, everything was created by the music. So he hath raised the wall and houses too. Antonio says, what impossible matter will he make easy next? He is talking absurd. He is talking absurdly. What other impossible matter will he now make possible through his way of speaking? Sebastian says, I think I will carry the island home. I think he will carry the island home in his pocket and give it his son for an apple. Next, he will try to carry this island in his pocket as if it is an apple and give it to his son to eat. So they are joking, they are just making, you can say, sarcastic remarks continuously about Gonzalo's words. Gonzalo is talking absurd, no doubt, but he is doing it just to divert the attention of the king and just to cheer up the king. Antonio says, and sowing the kernels of it in the sea bring forth more islands. So not only will he carry this island in his pocket and give it to his son as if he was giving an apple to him to eat, after he eats the apple, the seeds, he will sow them in the sea. Now whoever thought that one could sow seeds in the sea water? He says that he will sow it in the sea and more islands will grow out of those seeds. So all this is just to make a mockery of Gonzalo. Gonzalo says, A. Antonio says, why? In good time. Yes, again he has started speaking. Let's listen to him. Gonzalo says, sir, we were talking that our garments seem now as fresh as when we were at Tunis at the marriage of your daughter, who is now queen. So this is what I was talking about, that our dresses are as fresh as when we had put them on during the course of the marriage of your daughter with the king of Tunis. We were talking about that, your daughter, who is now the queen of Tunis. Antonio says, and the rarest that ever came there. Yes, we were also talking about Claribel being the rarest of the queens that ever came to Tunis. Sebastian says, Bait, I beseech you, Vido Dido. So he says, a sarcastic reference in Gonzalo's remark. He says, I beseech you, I request you, now you will talk about Vido Dido. So you see, it is going round and round in circles. The conversation is not really making any positive progress. These two, Antonio and Sebastian, are constantly making fun of Gonzalo, and Gonzalo is not at all in the spirit to give up. He is continuing with his discourse. So we will stop here. We have finished up to page 54. The next page 55 will take up in our next video tutorial. I hope I have been able to make you understand. Please go through these references which are given alongside, because these are very important, and if you go through, it will do you good. So I urge you to go through the references, especially the mythological references are very, very important. So that's it. Thank you very much.